Well, we've had many requests from, I guess, new gardeners or people that are new at gardening who want to start a vegetable garden, and they have an area that's not really been prepared and they want to know, how do you start from scratch? So I'm going to give you a few pointers on doing that. And first of all, it's real important that you remember your site. Notice we've chosen a site that's in full sun, and you can do a little bit of partial shade, not more than just a couple of hours though, and then it reduces the number of crops you can grow. Also, you want to remember to have it close to a water source, especially in Oklahoma, so we've got it within reach of our water hose. And also, I would definitely encourage you to start small, because it's going to take a little bit of effort, and by all means, we don't want you to be discouraged with your gardening experience, so you'll enjoy it more. So you want to start small. But I think the most important thing that you're going to have to do is ask yourself, when do you want to start your garden? Because really, I would encourage you at this time of year, you know, most of us know that we start planting around March, the middle of April, or the end of April, but you just can't prepare a place and do it overnight, so to speak. So really, what I would encourage you to would be to set your goal of choosing your site and working towards your first planting to occur this fall, for really a fall garden, which is very reasonable. And the first thing you would do is, after you choose your site, go in and go ahead and do a soil test right off the bat. Take it into your county office so you'll know what you're working with there. But the next step is to kill out your weeds, and you can see what we're dealing with right here. We've got dandelions, Bermuda grass, and so there's two ways that you can do that. If you choose to use a non-chemical, I would say go ahead and purchase some black plastic. And of course you can get different mills. This is a 4 mil, there's a 2, a 4, a 6. The thicker would be better, or you just double it up. And the whole purpose, it has to be black, not clear. Lay it over your area. You're going to have to stake it down or peg it down some way to keep it from blowing off. Maybe put a little bit of soil on it. But the black plastic will prevent the sunlight from getting to the grass. It's going to shade it out, no chlorophyll. Eventually it's going to kill the plants. And it will kill some of the Bermuda grass, particularly other annual weeds. It's going to get rid of those. Now think about it, if you use clear plastic like this, sunlight's going to go through it and you're actually going to get humidity and the grass is going to grow. So it has to be black plastic, and you're basically smothering the grass out. You'll need to leave it almost until August before you start your next step in preparing it. So that's several months to have that on there. Of course, the other option is you could use glyphosate. It's sold in many different brand names now because the trademark that it used to have by Roundup or Monsanto has been lost, so you'll see it in other formulations, but look for glyphosate. It's non-selective, so you spray it on the area. I'd encourage you to use a little bit of a blue dye so you can see where you're spraying, and then spray it on according to directions, and that moves through the foliage of the plants into the root system, and it kills out the entire plant. Now obviously, if the Bermuda grass has not started growing yet, it's going to take a little bit longer. We have to wait for the grass to start growing before we can ever use it to kill out the Bermuda. You may have to put on a couple of 3 applications, but it doesn't sterilize the soil, so once you get it killed out, and again we're going to do this through the summer, come August again, we'll be able to plant. Well, once our grass is killed out, no matter which way we use, then you can come in, put in organic matter, which is very important, and there's all kinds of places. Look close by, you might find some free of charge, and then you'll have your soil test report back. You'll know if you need to put lime or fertilizer down. Mix it in, everything's ready to go. You can plant your cool season crops. Now that's the optimistic best way to do it. I know many of you don't work that way though. We don't have the patience as gardeners. We get in the mood, we say we're going to start a garden, I want to put it in, I want to plant it today. Well, now I'm going to show you another way on how you can do that. Again, we've started small. We have a 10 by 10 foot square here. So that's 100 square foot. Really, a lot of our recommendations are in 1,000 square foot, but we can convert it down. It's small enough. You'd still be surprised how much production you can get out of this area. We had a couple of options. Obviously, if we're going to plant right away within the next couple of weeks, we don't have the time to do all the things we talked about earlier. Really, it's best to go ahead and scrape out at least 4 inches of the soil. Now again, we're going to have weed seeds in this top area. We've got dandelions, there's going to be Bermuda grass stolons, and we're going to get a lot of that out, which we'll haul off and put it in a low area where we need some fill. The easiest way to do this is make sure it's moist to start with. We've had a recent rain. If you don't, I would encourage you to water it in. Mark it off with some twine or whatever, and then at your point, go in and make the edge the border, and use a square shovel or spade because it cuts a little bit straighter. Now, it hasn't taken too long to do this. What you do is you cut in like this and just go down as far as you can get it, which is really a couple of inches. Go along in a pattern like that. I could cut it this way too, but it's almost like removing cookies from a cookie sheet. And it really comes off pretty easy, as you can see here. And remember, we've removed the side. Now, we're going to get rid of quite a few of the weed seeds and the grass. But as any Oklahoman knows, Bermuda grass is going to grow much deeper, the root system, than 4 inches. So later on, we'll show you how we're going to get that taken care of too. But see, if we start small, it's going to be easy for us to get this cleaned out in a couple of days, or excuse me, a couple of hours really, and get it all prepared where you can have it ready to go in no time. But again, I'd really encourage you to go ahead and scrape some of this out. Now, you could compost it, but again, there's a lot of weed seed, and unless you're composting properly, that might get you in trouble if you add it back on. If you compost for a long period of time, again, you can get rid of those weed seeds, but we're just going to use it as fill. Well, now that we've gone in and scraped all that out, it's pretty compacted. So our next step is going to be to come in and till it, and we'll take care of that and get back with you in a little bit. Well, we've already tilled in the compacted virgin soil, plus we added another 4 inches of organic matter, and we're using silage topping, and we've worked that in. Now, we're assuming that we need everything because we didn't have time, obviously, to do a soil test under this type of preparation. So we've put out about 10 pounds of hydrated lime, which will raise our pH up to around 6.5 or 7, which is what vegetables prefer. And then we're just going to broadcast on about 3/4 of a pound of triple 13, which will add our nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And once we get this on, now we'll till it one more time. Well, in our last step, we put down a weed fabric to actually give us a little bit more protection from weeds. And this is about an $8 investment. It's a fabric that allows oxygen and moisture to move through the soil so we can still keep the weeds out but grow plants in it. We've pegged it down with some pegs to hold it here in the center, and then along the side we've put wood chips that will hold the edges, help keep the grass from encroaching in. Now, later on, to till this stuff back up again, you may want to use something other than wood chips, but it helps in an ornamental appearance too. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is put in a transplant, and we've just cut a little X here, just big enough for us to fit the transplant through. And we have some lettuce transplants that are a little over mature, but they'll still pull through. We'll get rid of some of those older leaves, and you can see it's pretty root bound, so we'll break a little bit of that up. Now, that's just barely going to fit into the soil. So we're going to pull the soil from around the side just enough to pack it down. And we have a little bit of an indentation, so when we put our starter solution on it, the water will sit on that and soak through. Now, if you put this on a slope, the water's going to run off the top, so we'll either have to hand water this or put a soaker hose, something to make sure we're getting plenty of water here. But I tell you, this is probably the best way to keep the weeds out. After this growing season, we'll pull it up, add more organic matter, and we should have our garden spot ready to go. So hopefully these are some tips that'll help you get a new garden started this year.